In a world where the spotlight insists on highlighting the superficial, many men lose themselves trying to live up to standards that don't reflect who they truly are. Have you noticed how many men overexert themselves to create an image that isn't theirs? They desperately seek validation through expensive cars, designer clothes, and behaviors they've seen in Hollywood romantic comedies or pickup artist videos. This scenario reflects a society that values appearance over substance, having more than being. And the result? Fragile relationships, based on temporary illusions that dissolve the moment the mask comes off. Day after day, more men enter this vicious cycle of approval-seeking, losing their genuine identity in the process, and then wondering why their relationships lack true depth and meaning. The time has come to abandon this endless search for external approval and turn to what truly matters: genuine personal development. Stoic philosophy, born more than 2,000 years ago, offers principles that are surprisingly relevant for the modern man. Thinkers like Seneca, Marcus Aurelius, and Epictetus weren't concerned with artificial techniques to impress. They focused on cultivating inner virtues that naturally command admiration and respect. And it's precisely this that transforms casual encounters into unforgettable experiences. Imagine living without the constant pressure to appear to be someone you're not. Imagine the power of a presence that needs no gimmicks to make an impact. Think of the freedom of simply existing in your own truth, without performing roles or identities that don't represent the real you. This is the revolutionary proposition you're about to discover. 5 Stoic-based behaviors with the potential to spark profound, genuine admiration in any woman you meet. Behaviors that aren't manipulative tricks, but sincere expressions of a man who knows his intrinsic worth. We're not talking about superficial tricks or rehearsed gestures. We're talking about an internal transformation that naturally manifests in your choices and attitudes. A metamorphosis that not only improves your romantic relationships, but elevates your entire life experience to a higher level. The urgency to reclaim authentic masculinity has never been greater. In times when relationships begin and end with the speed of a quick swipe on a phone, the man who cultivates a presence grounded in solid values stands out like a lighthouse in the fog of shallowness. Are you ready to leave behind forced romance and embark on this journey of self-discovery? Then get ready to learn about the 5 behaviors that, when practiced with mindfulness and consistency, evoke an irresistible attraction. The first behavior, worthy of your attention, is authenticity paired with self-mastery. In a world where phoniness has practically become the norm, being real is an act of rebellion. Have you noticed how many men seem to follow a script when they're around a woman they admire? They calculate every word, force laughter, and try to fit into a mold they believe to be attractive. The result is an artificial interaction that anyone with the slightest awareness can sense. The authenticity I'm talking about isn't just be yourself in the most basic sense. It's not about displaying every one of your traits with no filter at all. True authenticity is rooted in deep self-knowledge and the conscious acceptance of who you are, including your flaws. It's knowing what you like or dislike, understanding your values and principles, and staying true to them, even when it would be easier to cave to social pressure. The ancient Stoics understood that inner virtue was the only true good. They didn't seek to please others through appearances, but rather to live in harmony with their essential nature. Applied to modern relationships, this principle reveals its transformative power. When you act from your core, with no intention to impress or manipulate, you develop a magnetic presence that people instantly notice. However, authenticity alone isn't enough. It needs to be balanced with self-mastery, the ability to manage your emotional and behavioral responses. This doesn't mean repressing your emotions. It means understanding them and expressing them appropriately. Here's where many men fail. They confuse authenticity with impulsiveness, thinking that reacting on instinct to every stimulus is a show of personal truth. Stoic self-mastery teaches that you can feel anger, frustration, or fear, natural human emotions, without being controlled by them. Picture the strength of a man who, even under intense stress, maintains his composure and clarity of mind. This isn't a manufactured force based on repression, but a genuine power that comes from recognizing you're greater than your momentary impulses. A woman observing this balance between authenticity and self-mastery senses, above all, security. She sees someone who doesn't hide behind masks but also isn't at the mercy of his emotions. Someone who can be vulnerable without losing his bearings. Someone who lives according to his own values, not just to impress her, but because that's how he's chosen to live his life. This behavior stands in stark contrast to the average man who tries to please at any cost, changing his opinions like shirts depending on the situation. Authenticity combined with self-mastery sends a powerful message. I'm comfortable with who I am. I don't need your approval to feel whole, but I'm offering you the chance to know someone real. To develop this first behavior, start by observing your patterns of thought and action. When do you stop being authentic just to please others? When do your emotions take over, driving you to react in ways you later regret? Awareness is always the first step to transformation. Practice expressing your true opinions, even when they're unpopular, but do it with respect and consideration. Learn to identify the early signs of intense emotions and develop techniques to process them internally before responding outwardly. Remember, the goal isn't to suppress who you are, but to express your essence in the most elevated way possible. The second behavior that sparks deep admiration is self-confidence grounded in solid principles. Notice I'm not talking about that hollow arrogance many people mistake for confidence. Arrogance is born of insecurity and feeds on the need for external validation. Real self-confidence, on the other hand, grows out of self-knowledge and the conviction that your worth as a man isn't tied to external factors like social status, money, or looks. The Stoic philosopher Epictetus, who was born a slave and overcame enormous adversity, taught that our happiness depends not on what happens to us, but on how we interpret and respond to events. This revolutionary view puts power in your hands. When you understand that your happiness and worth don't hinge on outside circumstances, a new kind of confidence begins to take shape. This self-confidence reveals itself in how you face life's challenges. You're not rattled by minor criticism, nor do you spiral when you're rejected. You don't depend on constant validation to feel good about yourself. Like the ancient Stoics, you develop an inner fortress that remains unshaken regardless of the storms that come your way. An observant woman quickly notices this trait. She picks up on how you're not constantly trying to impress, how you won't change your plans just to please her, how you don't lose your center when things don't go as expected. This emotional stability creates a sense of security that's deeply attractive. True self-confidence shows in your posture, the tone of your voice, and the way you maintain eye contact. It's not something you have to announce. It's something you naturally radiate when you're connected to your intrinsic value. It's the quiet certainty that no matter how any interaction turns out, you'll remain who you are, pursuing your path with dignity and purpose. The Stoics regularly practiced exercises to strengthen this internal independence. One such exercise was the premeditation of evils, imagining challenging scenarios and mentally preparing to meet them calmly. You can adapt this practice to social and romantic situations, visualizing yourself maintaining composure and confidence even in the face of rejection or criticism. Another key aspect of Stoic self-confidence is accepting the things that lie beyond your control. Many men waste energy fretting over factors they can't change, whether she'll answer the text, whether she'll accept the invitation, whether she's interested in someone else. A truly confident man concentrates only on what's within his reach, his own actions, words, and attitude. This approach sends a powerful message. I'm living according to my values and principles. Your presence in my life would be welcome, but my happiness and self-worth don't depend on your approval. Paradoxically, this emotional independence tends to increase, not diminish, a woman's interest. To cultivate genuine self-confidence, start by identifying the pillars of your personal worth, qualities, abilities, and values that don't rely on external validation. Take time to reflect deeply on what truly matters to you. which principles you wouldn't compromise under social pressure. These core values become the compass that guides your decisions and actions. Practice responding calmly and composedly to tough situations, always remembering to distinguish between what is within your control and what isn't. The Stoics developed an exercise known as the dichotomy of control, mentally separating the areas of life you can influence from those you can't. Once you internalize this distinction, you stop wasting energy on futile worries and direct your efforts where they truly make a difference. And perhaps most importantly, learn to treat your mistakes as opportunities for growth, not as proof of inadequacy. A Stoic man isn't defined by never failing, but by how he responds to those failures. He analyzes them objectively, extracts valuable lessons, and implements concrete changes. This ability to see failure as a teacher, not as an executioner, is a hallmark of true self-confidence. The third behavior that creates fascination is the skill of forging deep connections through storytelling and active listening. It's an art few men master, yet it has the power to turn a casual encounter into a memorable experience. Most conversations in modern social settings stay on the surface: work, weather, opinions on the latest popular streaming series. The man who can elevate the dialogue to a deeper plane, addressing emotions, values, and meaningful experiences, immediately stands out. The Stoic philosophers deeply valued the power of words. Seneca, in his letters and dialogues, demonstrated an extraordinary ability to connect with his audience through stories, metaphors, and thought-provoking questions. He knew that the real purpose of communication wasn't to show off, but to build bridges between souls. Storytelling, the ability to share stories that convey life lessons, values, and emotions, is a powerful tool in this process. When you recount a personal experience that's meaningful, not just as a funny anecdote but as a window into who you are, you create a setting of genuine intimacy. It's not about mastering sophisticated oratorical techniques, but about speaking honestly and with intention. It means sharing experiences that highlight your values, your struggles, and your growth. The most impactful stories are often the ones that involve vulnerability and transformation: how you faced a challenge, what you learned from failure, how an experience shifted your perspective on life. However, storytelling is only half of this powerful equation. The other half, equally crucial, is active listening. In a world full of endless distractions, the capacity to be truly present, to hear not just the words, but also the emotions and values behind them, has become extraordinarily rare and thus extraordinarily treasured. Active listening starts with genuine presence, your body and mind completely focused on the person in front of you, undistracted by your phone, the environment, or your own thoughts about what to say next. It continues with sincere questions that show real interest and invite deeper sharing. And it's fulfilled by responses that prove you not only listened, but understood and valued what was said. When a woman senses you're genuinely interested in getting to know her, not as a conquest, but as a complex human being with dreams, fears, joys, and sorrows, something powerful happens. She feels seen, appreciated, understood. This feeling generates an emotional bond that goes far beyond physical attraction. The Stoics practiced what they called attention, a state of full awareness of the present moment. Applied to social interactions, this practice helps you perceive subtle cues: a sparkle in the eyes indicating excitement, a pause revealing uncertainty, a shift in posture indicating interest or discomfort. This sensitivity enables you to adjust your approach in real time, creating a fluid, responsive conversational dance. To develop this behavior, practice sharing meaningful personal stories at the right moments. Reflect on your life experiences and identify ones that show something truly valuable about who you are and what you believe in. Simultaneously, work on the art of listening. In your next conversations, challenge yourself to speak less and listen more. Ask open-ended questions that welcome deeper responses. Show through your gaze, posture, and verbal replies that you're fully present. The fourth behavior that leaves a lasting impression is the balance between vulnerability and strength. This apparent paradox, being both vulnerable and strong, represents one of the most misunderstood aspects of authentic masculinity. Traditional views of masculinity often equate strength with invulnerability. The man who never shows weakness, never admits mistakes, never reveals internal struggles. This one-dimensional caricature isn't just unrealistic, it also prevents real connection. The woman who encounters this impenetrable front senses, consciously or otherwise, that she's facing an image, not a fully genuine person. Contrary to what many believe, the Stoics did not advocate for suppressing emotions or denying vulnerabilities. Instead, they encouraged a conscious relationship with our own humanity. Marcus Aurelius, emperor and philosopher, wrote candidly in his personal journal about his insecurities and internal battles, not to wallow, but to analyze them and devise strategies for overcoming them. Conscious vulnerability, the ability to recognize and appropriately share your fears, insecurities, and areas for improvement, isn't a sign of weakness. It's a sign of self-awareness and courage. A man capable of saying, "This scared me. I don't know how to handle this," or "That experience hurt me deeply," shows an inner security that's profoundly appealing. Yet vulnerability must be balanced with inner strength, the determination to face challenges, to take responsibility for your actions, and to persevere in adversity. It isn't brute force trying to dominate others, but strength of character, overcoming personal weaknesses and negative impulses. When you share vulnerability while also demonstrating how you're working to move past it, you set a powerful example of growth and self-determination. The underlying message is, I'm human, with all that entails, but I'm committed to continually evolving. This dynamic is fascinating. By being intentionally vulnerable in a measured, context-appropriate way, you paradoxically reveal a far greater strength than the man who hides behind a facade of invincibility. Your ability to confront the truth about yourself shows a courage few possess. A woman who observes this blend of vulnerability and strength sees something rare. A complete man, integrated, who doesn't need to hide parts of himself to appear strong. She realizes she can trust both your humanity and your capacity to handle life's inevitable challenges. To develop this behavior, start with honest self-reflection. Recognize your vulnerabilities and insecurities, not as flaws to hide, but as areas for conscious growth. Learn to share these reflections when it makes sense, always balancing the openness with a clear demonstration of your resolve to improve. Remember, vulnerability without strength becomes self-pity. Strength without vulnerability becomes rigidity. It's the fusion of both that creates the emotional resilience so captivating to others. The fifth and final behavior that sparks deep admiration is the ability to turn the ordinary into something extraordinary. This is the art of fully living. Each moment, infusing everyday experiences with meaning and purpose. In an era driven by the endless quest for high-intensity stimulation, whether it's another exotic trip or the newest upscale restaurant, we've collectively lost the ability to find meaning in the small things. Many men believe they need grand gestures or impressive scenarios to create memorable moments with a woman. However, the truth is that being able to transform a simple cup of coffee, a walk in the park, or a conversation over dinner into a meaningful experience is infinitely more valuable. The Stoics practiced what they called mindfulness, the capacity to be completely present in every activity, recognizing its intrinsic worth. They understood that the quality of our experience depends not on what we're doing, but on how we're doing it. When you develop this capacity, every interaction, no matter how trivial it might seem, can become an opportunity for genuine connection. A simple meal becomes a feast for the senses when you're fully there. A casual conversation reveals unexpected depths when you approach it with genuine curiosity. A common problem turns into a shared adventure when you face it with creativity and humor. This stands in stark contrast to the average man who's constantly distracted, glued to his phone during conversations, thinking about work during free time, always looking for the next adrenaline rush. A man who can be truly present, who genuinely appreciates the current moment, brings a sense of calm and wonder that's magnetic. Turning the ordinary into something extraordinary is also about finding and creating meaning in shared experiences. It's not just being present, it's actively seeking and highlighting what's special in any given moment. It's noticing beauty where others see nothing. It's making connections between the present moment and deeper values or personal stories. It's turning a regular experience into a symbol of something more profound. Imagine two men taking a woman out for coffee. The first is physically there, but mentally absent, distracted by his phone, his own worries, or just unable to appreciate the simplicity of the situation. The second is fully engaged, relishing each aspect of the moment, noticing small details in the surroundings, sparking a conversation that turns that cup of coffee into a journey of mutual discovery. Which one is going to create a memory that lingers long after the cup is empty? This behavior doesn't require money, social status, or extraordinary settings. It only demands a conscious decision to be present and to seek meaning in every experience. It's within any man's reach, regardless of external circumstances, because it hinges entirely on his internal attitude. To build this capacity, regularly practice mindfulness. In your daily activities, eating, walking, talking, push yourself to be fully present, taking note of details, sensations, and emotions you'd typically miss. Cultivate the art of finding the extraordinary in the ordinary. Notice the beauty in a falling leaf, the perfect flavor balance in a simple meal, the sudden spark in someone's eyes when they discuss something important. Also learn how to share your perception of the extraordinary without coming across as contrived or excessive. It's not about making over-the-top comments about every little detail, but about honestly expressing your appreciation when something truly touches you. The Stoics had an exercise called contemplation of beauty, where they'd attentively observe everyday objects, a leaf, a drop of dew, a household item, and reflect on the perfection of its design and purpose. By doing this, they trained their minds to see the extraordinary in what's usually considered mundane. Develop the habit of noticing details others overlook, the interplay of flavors in a simple dish, the subtle expression that lights up someone's face when they talk about what they love, the harmony of colors in an ordinary urban scene. By sharing these observations, you reveal not just awareness of the moment, but a delight in life that's contagious. As Marcus Aurelius noted, the happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts. When you train your mind to see beauty and meaning in the ordinary, you naturally transform everyday experiences into memorable moments. These 5 behaviors: authenticity with self-mastery, self-confidence rooted in principles, the ability to connect through storytelling and active listening, the balance of vulnerability and strength, and the knack for turning ordinary experiences into extraordinary ones, aren't mere seduction techniques in the usual sense. They're outward signs of deep internal work. It's crucial to recognize that these behaviors don't function as isolated tricks to be superficially imitated. They're natural expressions of a character shaped by constant reflection and intentional practice. The difference between mimicking these behaviors and truly embodying them is like the difference between wearing a mask and transforming your own face. The real power of this approach lies in its integration. When these 5 behaviors merge into a coherent expression of authentic masculinity, you develop a presence that naturally elicits admiration and attraction, not because you're trying to impress, but because you've become genuinely impressive. And here's the secret so many men fail to grasp. Real female fascination doesn't come from elaborate performances or flashy gestures. It arises from the perception that a man is truly committed to his own growth and lives by solid principles. It's the rarity of such authenticity, especially in a world drowning in superficial images, that makes it so powerfully attractive. The Stoics believed that virtue, excellence of character, was the only true good. When you direct your energy toward developing these internal qualities, you not only become more appealing to others, but also lead a more satisfying and meaningful life, regardless of external outcomes. The path I propose isn't easy or quick. Developing these behaviors requires ongoing self-examination, a willingness to face your flaws, and a commitment to continuous growth. It demands the courage to abandon harmful habits that have taken root and the perseverance to practice new ways of being, even when the old ways feel more comfortable. But the payoff far surpasses the initial goal of attracting a specific woman. As you begin to embody these behaviors, your entire life experience transforms. Your relationships, romantic, familial, professional, and social, gain depth and meaning. Your resilience in the face of setbacks increases. Your ability to find joy and purpose in everyday life grows immeasurably. And yes, as a natural consequence of personal development, you become genuinely attractive, not to all women, but to those who value authenticity, substance, and character. To those seeking not just a partner for fleeting pleasure, but a companion on a meaningful journey. Begin today. Choose one of these behaviors that resonates with you the most and focus on developing it consistently. Observe how it impacts your interactions and your relationships. Over time, include the other behaviors, gradually weaving them together into a cohesive whole. Remember that the goal isn't perfection, but steady progress. There will be times you fall short, when old insecurities resurface, when learned patterns take over. In those moments, practice the self-compassion that the Stoics referred to as philanthropia, a benevolence toward humanity that starts with a loving acceptance of your own human imperfections. The real test of these principles doesn't lie in immediate outcomes, but in the gradual transformation of your lived experience. As you cultivate these behaviors, you'll see subtle yet significant changes, a greater sense of inner peace, more genuine relationships, a heightened ability to discover joy and meaning in the day-to-day. Stoic philosophy teaches that true happiness, what the Greeks called eudaimonia, is not a never-ending state of pleasure, but a life of virtue, lived in harmony with our highest nature. When you align your actions with enduring principles, you tap into this deeper, longer-lasting kind of fulfillment. And here's perhaps the most surprising part. The more you let go of needing external approval, the more approval naturally comes your way. The less obsessively you seek admiration, the more effortlessly you tend to inspire it. It's a paradox few men understand, but one that fundamentally changes your approach to relationships. This is my invitation to you. Give up superficial seduction methods and embark on the more challenging yet profoundly rewarding path of character development. Cultivate authenticity tempered by self-mastery. Strengthen your self-confidence around unshakable principles. Master the art of creating connections through stories and active listening. Find the sweet spot between vulnerability and strength. Learn to make everyday experiences extraordinary. Do it not primarily to impress or conquer, but out of the determination to become the best version of yourself. And watch how, naturally, you become the kind of man who evokes not just brief attraction, but deep, lasting admiration. The choice is yours. You can remain on the path of superficial masculinity, chasing external validation with artificial behaviors, or you can begin the journey of genuine personal development, cultivating behaviors that not only attract, but also enrich your own life. Stoic philosophy provides a reliable compass for this journey. Its principles, tested over millennia, remain relevant because they speak directly to the deepest truths of human nature. When you align your actions with those truths, you're not merely adopting a more effective strategy for attraction, you're living in a way that's more aligned with your highest potential. And it's precisely that alignment, that congruence between who you are on the inside and how you express yourself on the outside, that creates a magnetic presence few women can resist. Not because you're trying to manipulate or overwhelm them, but because you've become genuinely admirable. The path is laid out. The principles are clear. The decision to walk it is all yours now.